What's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Crystal's Next Chapter, and this is a video about my worst books of 2025. I've never done one of these videos before. I feel like they're so harsh, and so I've never brought myself to sit here and talk to you about horrible books. I like to keep this channel positive and talk about books I loved. But this was a very, very shit year for me. I read 42 books this year, and I think I probably got maybe 15 5-star reads. Maybe. I haven't looked at that number. Ed and Crystal will put how many 5-star reads I actually got this year. It was really easy for me to get 10 books that I didn't like, 10 books that disappointed me, 10 books that I thought were overhyped, 10 books that just did not hit. Some of these are probably going to be a little bit controversial. Some of these may even get me cancelled. But if you're in for a little bit of negativity or drama or honesty, let's talk about 10 books that I did not like from 2025. Now, these are books that I read in 2025. They are not books that were published in 2025. Some of them maybe. These are also books that I am giving an opinion on, my opinion. If you do not agree, or if I'm talking about your favorite book and putting it on my least favorite list, I apologize. I also would like to note that yes, I do know that predominantly most of these are romance. I read a lot of romance in 2025. It was a year of mentally being able to only consume romance. But if you're new here, I do read things other than romance. If you'll see from my shelves, I have them in genres. So we have a thriller shelf, we have a romance shelf. Have you noticed my romance shelf is my smallest shelf at the moment because I've read so much of it. We have fantasy, 2 shelves, and then we have a contemporary general fiction. So I do read a variety of things, and most of my series are fantasy. I want that noted. So I just was romance heavy in 2025. Most of my 5-star reads were actually fantasy. So maybe fantasy was just popping this year and romance was where it was failing. But I did read some really good romances this year as well. But that's for a whole nother video when we talk about some of the books that got me out of a reading slump. Because obviously I was in one very chronically this year, very chronically. So let's jump into my worst books of the year. This is in no particular order. I don't think I can put these in order. Pretty much these are all the books that I either gave 2.5 star or less. A 3-star read for me is meh, middle of the rank. I'm not angry that I read it. I don't feel like it wasted my time, but I'm not gonna scream from rooftops about it. 2.5 or less is something that I'm starting to be why did I bother? I should have just listened to the internal voice that was telling me to DNF this book. And there's a couple on here that I did actually DNF. But let's just rip off the band-aid with the first one, because if I say this and it bugs you enough, you probably don't want to hang around for the rest of the video, which I should probably leave that for the end. No, let's just do it. Onyx Dawn by Rebecca Yarros. I said it. I'm sorry. Hannah, my best friend, she became obsessed with this series. She reread Onyx Dawn 5 times. She's so in love with this series and all the different she's the person that sits there with all the little mind maps trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And she was sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And I was I'm not mentally prepared to I'm not mentally in a place to read this book right now, because I was couldn't do fantasy. And then I forced myself to pick it up. And I don't know if that's why it didn't hit, but to me, the reason why it didn't hit wasn't necessarily because it was badly written or whatever. To me, it was the fact that it was maybe overhyped is the right reason. I read it after that initial hype wave of the 3rd book's come out, let's read this is gonna be fantastic. So I found it underwhelming compared to the hype and the expectations, because we waited so long for it. I had read the 1st and 2nd book as art copies, and I didn't have the same people to read this one with that I had read with the other one. So maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it as much, because I didn't have that momentum carrying me through. But I did just find it a little bit repetitive and predictable. And I know that sounds bad, because I obviously didn't predict every single twist, and I didn't predict based on reading book 2 that book 3 these things were going to happen. But the one thing is maybe it was the pacing and the fact that it didn't really go in a new direction. I just found that every single interaction between the 2 main characters felt like I was rereading book 2. I know that sounds weird, because obviously so many people loved it, but I just didn't like it. And I hope that although I'm disagreeing with so many people that loved it, if you're watching this and it was one of your favorite books of the year, that we can still be friends. And then you can accept the fact that this one didn't hit for me. I loved book 1 and book 2. I just can't. I will be discontinuing the series. I don't think I will pick it back up unless someone convinces me otherwise. If you want to convince me, I will listen. I mean, my best friend has already tried multiple times, and instead she just got me onto Heated Rivalry instead. Number 2 is Fake It or Leave It by Portia McIntosh. Fake It or Leave It by Portia McIntosh. This is like a non-popular book. There wasn't a lot of people that had read this. I picked it up for NetGalley November, maybe? No, it was early on in the year. I think I picked it up for like a readathon of some kind where I had to read a particular book to hit a particular prompt. And it was obviously predictable. Most romances are. But the depth of these characters, I may as well have been like on the tip of the grass. Like not even like weighing down the grass. That's how undeep these characters were. And for me, if I'm going to read a romance book, I want a little bit of depth. I want to know a little bit about these characters. I want to care a little about these characters. And I did not. And I feel like the tropes and the tone of this was like the author went and found all of the things that people love about romances and then just like surface level added it into the book. That sounds so harsh. This is why I don't do these. This is why I don't do these. I'm just so mean. Anyways, number 3, I'm so sorry to all the Emily Henry lovers out there, but I experienced book lovers. Let me put it out there. This is a lot of people's favorites, but I gave it like a 2.75. Like it was borderline. I had an okay time. But I think, again, I just went into it with such expectations because it was an Emily Henry and everyone loves Emily Henry. And she's like the best romance author out there that's come into like the most recent timeline. It just was like too generic or familiar. I don't know. There was just nothing unique about it at all, which I know a lot of romances aren't unique, but the ones that hit and gave me 5 stars usually have something unique about them, a unique character, a unique perspective, a unique like take on something that's currently happening in society or did happen in society. You can write a romance novel and it have like that typical like get together, third act breakup, blah 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 blah, like whatever like plot trajectory you usually want, but a real romance author can take that copy and paste timeline and put something unique in it. And I feel like Emily Henry didn't do that with this one. It's just not memorable, maybe, is another reason why I didn't like it. It was very slow paced and like the banter and conflict between them was like a little bit underwhelming. I've read other books where I felt more interest maybe, and like the weird conflict between like the siblings, her and her sister, I just didn't care about it. Number 4, if I've still got you, is Keep Safe by Sarah Kate. This was my first Sarah Kate book. I had got this book from a like book swap coffee date with a bunch of book people in my area. And there's a lot of people that made comments about the fact that the age gap was an issue for them. This was not the reason why I did not like this. It started off really strong. Like I had like an investment in it when it first started. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I was listening to the audiobook. I was like, oh man, this main character is like super sexy sounding. And like, she's got this cool little like attitude about her. And then it just went like too long. It took too long to get to the point. The main characters both had baggage, but I just felt like it took too long to like unveil their baggage. It was like you were giving me little breadcrumbs when I wanted like a cookie, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to have a negative opinion. Why is this so hard? People make it look really easy to be bitchy and I just can't do it. All right, another romance that just did not hit that I wanted to hit was Truly Madly Deeply by LJ Shen. I had this as a advanced listener copy from Libra FM. Thank you, Libra FM. The characters in this book, I felt like they were 15. They were so fucking unbearably annoying. Like the grudges that they kept for like the most absurd reason and the immaturity in their behavior. I just couldn't. And like the romance felt so forced. It was like not organic in any way, shape or form. And I felt like their interaction sometimes, because they were so immature, they came across as like this like overly dramatic interaction with like this constant tension with zero payoff. And that's pretty much it. I realize I'm not going into what any of these books are about because you don't really need to know because they're not worth reading. But go check them out if what I'm telling you makes you want to read them. Colleen Hoover is landing on this list this year. Number 6, we have Without Merit Scored this one at a library sale. And Merritt, man, her choices were frustrating. Like, and her personality just like irked me on like the biggest level. And the plot was like super messy. Like it just was like, I don't know, like the dynamics and the family drama, and like it didn't like mesh well together. I felt like it was really difficult, not necessarily to keep track, because like I could keep track because it was not epically written or anything, but like it felt more like a drama than a romance sometimes, and not like a dramatic romance, but like a contemporary fiction, but like badly written. I don't know. I think, okay, I'm gonna say this, and you need to like realize that I'm not trying to be harsh, because I usually love coho, but I would describe it as a Wattpad version of a contemporary fiction, if that's making sense to you. I hope it does. It made sense in my head. Okay, so Sierra Simone, I've heard nothing but positive things about Sierra Simone from the romance droves. They back it up. They say, she's amazing, you should read it. Well, my first experience with Sierra Simone happened to be Salt in the Wound, which is the like prequel, and then Salt Kiss, which is the book number 1 of, I can't even think of what series this is. And I will be giving Sierra Simone another chance, because I feel like her writing was okay, and I did feel like I could read more from her. But this particular one, I'm all for like a dark romance, and themes and like explicit scenes, I can do them. Like I've read some fucked up shit in my time. And this just felt, it was like there for the shock factor rather than for the plot. I felt like it was unnecessary sometimes. I also felt like this book was longer than it needed to be, and I feel like the smart outweighed like the emotional depth, and I'm okay with that in like a short novella. Like if I'm reading like a little novella that it's obvious we're here just for that, that's fine. But when I'm getting a full-length novel, I'm okay for there to be smart, like, you know, multiple smart scenes throughout the story. But when it starts to tip the scales to become more outweighed than like the emotional depth of the story and the plot and the characters, that's where it loses me. And that's kind of what happened with this series. So I will definitely be giving Sierra Simone another chance, but not the rest of this series. Number 8 is a non-fiction, and I got gifted this from a publisher, so sorry to the author and the publisher that sent this to me, but it's 27 Letters to My Daughter by Ella Ward. This was I went into this expecting to read 27 actual like letters that she had written. So this follows the story of a mum who was dying, and she wrote letters to her daughter, and it was explaining, you know, her family history and where she'd come from, and some advice that her mother had for the daughter. And I felt like I got a lot more crap about the generation, which would be great if I was the daughter reading it. It would be cool to hear about my family, but I didn't know this woman from a bar of soap. And so I felt like I was reading someone else's story, which sounds like weird because that's what you do when you read books, right? But like it felt like it was like not meant for me, which was strange. It had less of the advice side of things that I was expecting from this, and more of like a personal, this is the story of your family kind of read, which if I knew this person or wanted to hear about their family history, that would have been really cool. Or if it was my family history I was reading about, fantastic. But because that wasn't the case, it kind of lost me a little bit, because it didn't have that narrative momentum. So like I felt like it was meant to have this like romance / memoir kind of combo, and it didn't really work. Number 9 hurts me to say, and that is Kit McBridge Gets a Wife by Amy Barry. I saw this in a bookshop when it first came out, and I put it on my wish list and was like, want to get that book. And then someone kindly bought it for me off my wish list. I can't remember who. I'm so sorry if it was you. Thank you. And it sat on my my shelf for like 2 years, and then I finally picked it up, and I was wanting this like hot Scottish man, and I got a boring, terrible narrator and a boring story, and I was just so bored, so bored. And like the tension, again, it was missing. I need sexual tension, I need drama, I need something to keep me reading about these two characters, and that was not there at all. So yeah, I gave up on it. I don't think I even remember anything about them other than the fact that his name was Kit, and that's because it's in the cover. Yeah, this disappointed me because I loved the cover. I loved the concept. I loved the fact that he was Scottish, because your girl has a thing for Scotsmen. But nope, I had to give up. I had to. It was just so boring. And last but not least, number 10 on this list is Soulmates by Susan Lee. This was a book I went into not realizing it was YA. Well, I purchased it not realizing it was YA, which is silly of me because that's what you're meant to do, is learn more about a book before you purchase it. But I did feel like, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without coming across as racially insensitive. I did feel like a lot of the settings that were used were mainly for the like aesthetic kind of vibes rather than like to develop the plot, but it should have been the other way around based on the type of story, which is hard to explain if you haven't read it. But I felt like the appeal for this story was the fact that it was about K-pop and a K-drama star and like all of that kind of Korean aesthetic. And I feel like that was overused to try and keep the reader interested when it didn't need to be there. I hope that's making sense. But yeah, it was just flat and boring, and the characters I kind of didn't really care about, and I didn't want them to really end up together because I didn't care in the world. Yeah, I've read YA. It's got nothing to do with the fact that it was YA. I knew it was YA once I started picking it up. It did read quite young. That's okay, no worries, I can accept that. But because of the fact that it was YA, their poor communication was terrible. The settings were a little bit like forced. I just didn't feel like it was almost like the perfect romance in that it was too convenient, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. So they were my worst books of 2025. Not every book can be a winner, and honestly, like that's half the fun of reading, right? If any of these are your 5-star favorites, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Fight me in the comments, change my mind if you want to. Let me know which ones you loved, and if you want to, join the conversation in the comments down below. Let me know which books you loved this year so you can hopefully turn me in the right direction to find some more 5 stars in 2026. Thanks guys, bye!